Good morning, Villa fans, and welcome back to the channel that gives you the exclusive bombers on the transfer rumours. Tammy Abraham coming back to Aston Villa is something that I talked about quite a while ago and looks like it's going to be happening. Hopefully so. It involves a little bit of, what can we call it? Transfer triangle at the moment, because it looks like Roma want a player if they're going to recall Abraham from Beskitas. Bailey's not really working out. So, let's just talk about it briefly just now. Don't want to spend too long on this because nothing is confirmed. It's all just at rumor stage. But Tammy Abraham was a player that, I did a video a month ago about 7 strikers that Villa could target in January. And Tammy Abraham was in that list. He was my choice to bring in as well, just because familiarity, nostalgia, whatever you want to call it, Premier League ready, good competition, for Watkins in a rotation, not an exact replacement for him. But I just felt it just made sense. And he scores penalties. Do you know what I mean? So, and he gives us a different dynamic. It would be a big, tall, physical striker up front, someone that we could put crosses into the box to. I know Watkins is good in the air as well, but Tammy Abraham is exceptional. And at 6'4", he should be. But obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be completed before Abraham can, maybe make a move to Villa. So, I've done a little triangle here, and it looks like, in order for Tammy Abraham to join Villa, he'll need to be recalled from his spell at Beskitas, where he's on loan. Beskitas have an option to make that permanent transfer, 11.4 million, I believe, which sounds really relatively low. He's doing really well there at Beskitas, so, they don't really want to lose him, reluctantly they might have to. 24 appearances this season in all competitions, 12 goals and 3 assists is the record for Tammy Abraham currently. And obviously Beskitas are not they're not a massive club. I mean, they're quite big in Turkey, but, they're not Fenerbahce or Galatasaray. They're probably the 3rd best team in Turkey. They got knocked out of the Conference League, I believe it was, or the Conference League qualifying. So they're not even playing in European competition, which was quite a big sort of shock. The manager that brought him in at Beskitas was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is obviously a Premier League legend and someone that I'm sure that, Abraham, growing up watching the Premier League, wanted to play under and be managed by. So Solskjaer has since been removed from his role at Beskitas and, left Tammy Abraham in a bit of limbo here. So I think he would welcome a move back to the Premier League, back to the UK. He has recently become a father again, which I mentioned before. So, it'd be great for him as a family to get back to the UK as well. So, but in order for that to happen, Roma need to recall him. Then Roma will probably want us to pay a loan fee for him as well to maybe compensate for that 11 million that Beskitas were going to pay them. So there needs to be something in place there where if it is a loan deal, then it needs to be loan to obligation to buy. And maybe they might bump up the fee from 11 million to 15, maybe something around that perhaps. So there's a little bit that needs to be done there. Leon Bailey, currently on loan at Roma at the moment, not doing well, picking up a lot of injuries for them. They're keen to end the loan spell and send him back to Aston Villa. If we can get the form back of Leon Bailey from 2023, then he'd be an absolute weapon for us. But he has picked up quite a few injuries, hasn't been the same sort of player either for us, and hasn't really shone at Roma. 10 appearances, 0 goals, 1 assist is all that he's managed kind of this season for them. But it could be, in order for Beskitas to release Tammy Abraham, we might need to give them a player or two as well to sort of sweeten the deal a little bit. So the players that are being mentioned is recalling Leon Bailey from Roma and then sending him immediately to Beskitas and maybe throwing in someone like Evan Guessand as well. Guessand hasn't really hit the heights here, and he's not doing that well. He's currently in AFCON at the moment, where he scored 1 goal for Ivory Coast, but 19 appearances this season, 2 goals, not really great. We haven't really missed him at all since he's been at AFCON. We've got players that are, I would say, equal or better coming through sort of the youth academy, maybe that we can use, or maybe we dip back into the market again. But Evan Guessand going to Beskitas, and maybe they get an obligation to make it permanent if it's going to be a loan transfer. That could be something that happens as well. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe even both went there. just to keep Beskitas sweet. So they sort of cancel Abraham's deal, and then they get Leon Bailey and Evan Guessand. And Guessand can play as a number 9. He played his best football for Nice as a sort of number 9 for them. We haven't really played him as a number 9. So maybe Beskitas could see Evan Guessand as a replacement for Tammy Abraham as that striker. And then the last part in this very fluid triangle at the moment is the centre picture here of Daniel Malen, who Roma have been asking, for him on loan, perhaps with an obligation to buy him as well. We've seen Daniel Malen play, and he's done well for us when called on. There have been some games where he's not been too much involved in the games when he played as a kind of lone striker, and I think he's better as that sort of second striker role, but we don't always play the second striker. Did well against Spurs at the weekend. Obviously set up Buendia for his goal. Good, hold up play and, brushing off a defender to play that nice little reverse pass into Buendia. He's made 29 appearances this season, a lot of those from the bench, 7 goals, and he had a bit of a purple patch earlier on in the season, 2 assists as well. But, Daniel Malen is someone that I think has, he definitely has an eye on the Dutch World Cup squad and wanting to maybe even lead the line for them, which I mentioned again in one of my previous shorts. He wants to play more regularly, and maybe a loan move to Roma for this remaining 6 months of the season might be good for him to cement his place in the Dutch World Cup squad, and maybe as their number 9 going into that World Cup, play regular minutes for Roma. And it could also give us that Tammy Abraham option for us as well, who is a like-for-like kind of replacement for Ollie Watkins if things aren't working. Tammy Abraham is an out-and-out number 9. He doesn't play anywhere else. So, and he would just give you that little bit more physical presence up front. Play the ball into him. He can hold it up. He can go past a man. He is still recovering from that sort of ACL injury that he picked up that otherwise Villa would have signed him, I think, a couple of years ago. So there is that to think about as well, that maybe he doesn't want to play week in, week out all the time. I'm sure that he does want to play the majority of it. And obviously he probably, he's probably looking at the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's having a bit of a purple patch as well at the moment, and maybe back on the radar of Thomas Tuchel for the England squad for the World Cup. If Tammy Abraham can come back to Villa and get a good run of games going, there'll be a lot of games for Villa to play, both in Europe, FA Cup, and obviously going in the Premier League in the second half of the Premier League season as well. So there's a lot of game time that hopefully he will get. And if he can impress, and just say to Thomas Tuchel, hey, I'm still here, think about me as well, might be a chance of him getting on that plane at the very last second. Very much, I doubt it personally, but you never know. But I think playing in the Premier League would be good for him. And yeah, I just think it just makes total sense to bring Tammy Abraham back. And, if this whole triangle can work out, then great. And we haven't even talked about Conor Gallagher. I mean, that's another link that's coming through from Atletico Madrid, another loan deal. Obviously, we would have to send back Harvey Elliott, which I think would happen. Although I think we can loan Conor Gallagher because he's obviously playing outside of the Premier League. So I think the rule is that you can only loan 2 Premier League loans. So obviously you've got Harvey Elliott and Jadon Sancho. So that's us done. We can cancel the Harvey Elliott one. That could open up another Premier League loan. But I don't think it really affects the European loans. So with Conor Gallagher, like we did with Asensio last season, bringing him on loan from the European team shouldn't really make a difference in terms of the loan quota. So, and Conor Gallagher would be an absolutely exceptional loan signing. Obviously, he knows Tammy Abraham from their days at Chelsea as well. And, what we know about Conor Gallagher is that he'll give you absolute work rate. He's just he's almost like a John McGinn type sort of player. So versatile, can play 6, can play 8, can play 10. I think he's better in the 8. Good pressing, good energy, good on the ball, eye for a goal as well. I wouldn't say that he could play the wide positions at all. I wouldn't really want to see him out there, but definitely as a 6, as an 8, as a 10. We've got Ross Barkley coming down, winding down his contract. He's injured or just coming back to form. Boubacar Kamara and Onana currently both out injured as well. Lamar Bogard and Tielemans are really the only options that are in there. You've got John McGinn that you could throw back into the 6 as well if you need to. But signing someone like Conor Gallagher, and even if it is an obligation to buy him at 25 million, I think he's just about to turn 26 years of age. I still think that would be a really, really good signing, dependent on wages. So hopefully Unai Emery and Olabe can use their La Liga contacts to speak to Diego Simeone and get something done there. But I would very much be in favour of that as a loan signing to see how he gets on. And as I said, I think we've got a heck of a end of the season to go. We've got loads of games left in the Premier League. I think we want to go deep into the FA Cup. I think we want to try to win a trophy there. We definitely want to go win the Europa League. So there's going to be a lot of games there. And, there'll be lots of games in a short space of time. So you need to be able to utilize the squad really well. So this is why I think this is pivotal now. If we can bring in Conor Gallagher and Tammy Abraham, that would be an amazing window. And maybe one or two more in and around that as well. But, let's see what we can do with the Harvey Elliott situation and sending him back. But there's lots going on, guys. It's a very sort of fluid, moving situation. I don't have any sort of concrete knowledge about what's going on, but it's all sort of, initial kind of discussions at the moment. There seems to be, 3 clubs involved, and we need to get everyone aligned on the same page. So, keep your eyes on the channel. If anything does break, anything does get more concrete, I'll jump straight back on. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you think about this transfer triangle dilemma? Would you welcome back Tammy Abraham? Or are you someone that thinks, don't really want to go back to players that have played for us previously? We should be looking at fresh players. Are there other players that we could be looking at? I mean, I've talked about various strikers that we could look at in January, but I think Tammy Abraham ticks a lot of those boxes for me. And I would definitely welcome him back. Bailey going to Beskitas could be a good move. Get him regular game time. Even having Guessand getting him regular game time at Beskitas as a number 9. And then Malen ahead of the World Cup, getting more minutes into his legs at Roma on loan. It kind of makes sense because I'm sure that he's not happy just coming off the bench. And obviously, he wasn't happy to be left out of the Champions League squad last year as well. That obviously, was a hard thing to do, to sign the player and then not register him for the Champions League. So, I think if we can get Abraham, I would, is what I would say. And if that means Malen out on loan, Bailey out on loan, Guessand out on loan, so be it. And I'm sure that Unai Emery does have plans to bring in 1 or 2 more players, including Conor Gallagher, and maybe 1 more or 2 more after that as well. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Up the Villa. Speak to you all soon. Like and subscribe and comment. Need 10 more subscribers for the magic 500. Don't let me down. Hit that subscribe button.